Okay. What time is it? Okay, so it's 6:01. We should get started. So we are in week 3, right? Week 3 now, and we are learning chapter 5. It's about the time value of money. So this is not a new concept, hopefully at least. If you have taken the personal finance course, right? So you should probably have already learned this time value of money, right? So how about you guys? There are 4 of you today. Do you guys learned about the time value of money before? Yeah, thank you, Kidan. LG, how about Ree and Oriana? Have you guys learned about the time value of money? Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. Okay, so then that explains why we don't have a lot of students here tonight. Pretty kind of a review section, right? In a textbook, because you have learned this before. You are quite knowledgeable about how it works. So in tonight, we're gonna review. We're gonna do some questions together. Just kind of be like a quick review, okay? So this is one question. They were saying for each of following, compute the future value, okay? So then we want to talk about what we mean by future value, right? Because we have something called future value. We also have present value, right? This is the terminologies, okay? Present value versus future value, right? So what are the future values and present values? So often when we are dealing with finance problems, we like to draw a timeline, okay? This is the T, okay? And then we want to, you know, we want to describe the cash flows, okay? The cash flows. Suppose this is 2005, okay? And here is 2006. And here is 2023, right? Those are the time points, right? So what do we mean by present value and the future value? So in this timeline, right? In this timeline, some of the cash flows happened before the others, right? So you can see that this time point, 2005, okay? These are the time points happened earlier in this timeline, right? So the present value and the future value are relatively speaking, right? So the earlier cash flow, that's the present value. And the later cash flow, let's say there's a cash flow in 2023, this is the future value, okay? So so present versus future, they are relative, okay? So the cash flow happened at the earlier time point of the timeline. Those are the present value, and the later cash flows are the future value, okay? So for example, often questions say, in 2005, you deposit $100, okay, $100 to bank, right? So this is the cash flow from you to bank, right? So this is a cash flow from you to the bank. And then at 2023, you are able to withdraw, okay, the balance. But by that time, the balance is no longer $100 anymore. It's more than $100 because you are earning interest. So at that time, let's say the balance is 120. Okay, so then you can have a cash flow from the bank to you when you are withdrawing the money. So in this case, right, which one is the present value? Which one is the future value in this question, right? So it was very obvious. This one, this $100, okay? So in this question, this is the present value because it occurs in the earlier time point of this timeline. And this one, okay, this one would be a future value, okay? This one would be the future value in this case, okay? So does this make sense? So give me a hands up, give me a sum up, 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, thank you, appreciate it. Okay, so now we understand what is the present value, what is the future value. Okay, so now let's take a look at this question. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of the, oops, sorry. So in this question, we have, we are going to draw a timeline. Okay, suppose there's a time point here, and there's a time point here, and we learned that the number of years is 10 years. Okay, so the present value here is $2,000. Okay, and 10 years later, so this time gap here, that's a 10 years time gap. So in this case, you know, the interest rate is 5%. Okay, interest rate is 5%. The question is asking, okay, 10 years later, what is the future value? How much you can get from here, right? So that's kind of this question. You know, at this point, you deposit all, you have $2,000. Okay, then you earn every year 5%, and 10 years later, how much money you can get, right? So in this case, the first way to deal with this question is that we are going to use the formula. Okay, the formula. So basically, because this is a cash flow here, so the year one, after 1 year, here, right? This money is going to grow to 2,000 times 1 plus 5%. Okay, so in the beginning you have 2,000. A year later, you're going to have 2,000 times 1 plus 5%. Okay, so every year the balance is going to grow by 105%. Okay, so the point is 10 years later, you're going to have a future value equals the present value 2,000, and this compounding effect will be part to the power of the number of years, which is 10. So each year you grow at 105%, and 10 years, the compounding factor would be 1 plus 5% to the power of 10. Okay, so basically a generic formula is the future value equals present value multiplied by 1 plus r to the power of t. Okay, so this is PV, which is present value, FV is the future value, and r here, that's the interest rate. Okay, and t is the number of the time intervals. In this case, it's 10 years, n equals 10, t equals 10. Okay, so t equals 10 in this case, and r equals 5%, and you write it down in the decimal, which is 0.05. Okay, so does this make sense? 1, 2, 3. Does this make sense? Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so now let's take a look. What do we got? So when we use this formula, okay, this is the generic form, okay? And then I bring these numbers in, right? Present value 2000 are 0.05. And in this case is 10, right? That's the 10. And that's the interest rate, 0.05. And I calculated, I have $3,257.79. Okay. So you can use this formula, right, to calculate. Another way to do this is to use your financial calculator. Okay. You can use your financial calculator. So basically, you're gonna assign $2,000 to the present value, PV. You assign 5, okay, 5, that's representing the 5%, right? Okay, to IY, okay? And you assign 10 to the N, so that's the number of the time intervals. And then you press CPT button, that's compute. And then you press FV, that's the future value. And you will get a result of negative 3257.79. And the reason why this is a negative, that's because this future value representing cash flow that is opposite in the direction to the present value, okay? Present value here, you can see when I assign this number, it's a positive number, right? Now you calculate the future value, it turned out to be a negative number. So this present value and the future value, we have something called sign convention, right? So they are the opposite directions, right? Because in this case, the present value means you are depositing money, right, to the bank. So the money comes from you to the bank. And the future value means that you are going to withdraw the money from the bank to you. So the cash flow is going to comes from the bank to you, right? So that's the opposite direction. That's why it showed up as a negative, which is opposite from the positive, right? It's very important to make sure that every time you perform the calculation, right, if you are done with that calculation, make sure you press second and then clear the TVM, right? So otherwise, sometimes the financial calculators still have memories of the previous numbers. That would screw up your calculations, okay? So make sure you have clear the TVM after performing each calculation. So I think I'm very confident that you have already used the financial calculators before. If you haven't, please let me know. So if you have used the financial calculator before, give me a sum up. 1, 2, 3. How about the other 3 students? Ree, Godfrey, and Felbert. Have you guys used the financial calculators? Okay, yes. Okay, yeah, thank you, Ray. Thank you, Godfrey. Okay, good. So I think everybody has used it before. So I hope that you are very comfortable in using it by now. Okay. Are we okay with this question? Do you have any questions? So feel free, if you have any question, feel free to turn on your mic and ask the question, okay? So if I don't hear any response, I just assume that you don't have any question. Okay, good. So I'll move on to the next question. In this question, what happened is they tell you what is the future value, right? They want you to figure out what is the present value, okay? This will be the situation that, for example, I have 3 children, right? I'm thinking of their future education. They are pretty young right now at the elementary school, but in 10 years, they are going to university, right? They're gonna need some money to pay for the tuition. So, and I would like to help them, right? So maybe in my estimation, I would say Well, in 10 years, right? Let's say in 80 years, okay? In 80 years, I'm gonna need $15,000, okay? So that would cover the first year's tuition for my son, okay? 15,000. And then I know that, the interest rate, okay, is 6%, okay, for the 80 years. That's the return. The question is how much I should save now, right? So how much I should save now if I earn a 6% interest rate and for 80 years, so that I can reach that desired value, $15,000, right? So in this case, you can see that you are actually calculating present value, okay? Because the $15,000 is actually in 8 years, right? That's the money I need in 8 years in the future. My question is, what about now? Okay, so now compared to 8 years later, now is an earlier time point. So this is a question to calculate present value. Okay, so then nothing surprised, you still use the same formula, but this time, okay, you know that the future value equals present value times 1 plus r to the power n, right? So if you just using this equation, you want to solve present value, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to divide it, this term on both sides of the equation. So your FV divided by 1 plus r to the power of n equals present value, okay? So that's how you get this formula, okay? Because present value will be less than the future value. So therefore, this future value divided by a number that is greater than 1. So that's why you want to know that the present value is less than future value. Why? Because future value divided by a number that is greater than 1, okay? So in this case, my future value is 15,000. My R is 0.06, my N is 8. So in my calculation, if I save 1994.11 and 18 cents now, and 8 years later, okay, my savings is gonna reach $15,000. Okay. You could also use the financial calculator. In this case, I assign negative 15,000 to the future value. Okay, 6 to IY, 8 to N. I press compute, and then press present value. I get a positive 94.11.19. Okay, and don't forget to perform this procedure to clear after each calculation. Okay, so if you understand this, please give me a sum up. 1, 2, 3. Okay, awesome, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on. So now you have how many factors here? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So in these formulas, there are 4 factors. If you know any 3 out of the 4, so you are able to solve the unknown, right? So in this formula, right, this equation, there are 4 factors. If you know any of the 3, right, you'll be able to solve the other one left. Okay, so in this case, the present value is unknown, but the number of the years, interest rate, and the future value are known. Okay. Now let's take a look at here. In this question, we know present value, we know number of years, we know the future value. So the unknown is the interest rate, right? The unknown is the interest rate. So how should we solve the interest rate? Okay, how should we solve the interest rate? So again, you can use this formula. And then if you solve R, because you need to solve the interest rate, right? You need to solve R, right? So how can you solve R? R equals this. Just a little bit of transformation using this equation, okay? So you first move this denominator to the left side, and you move the left side to become the new denominator. So FV divided by PV. And then because this is 1 plus R to the power N, to get rid of it, right? You become a power 1 minus N, okay? And then you move the 1 to the right side. So R equals FV divided by PV to the power of N minus 1 and minus 1, okay? So, and in this case, we know present value is 15,000. Sorry, we know the future value is 15,000. Present value is 9411.18. And N, the number of years N is 8. So using this calculation, I can figure out my R interest rate is actually 6%. Okay. So once again, you are able to solve this using the financial calculator. Okay. So you are assigning negative 15,000 to future value, 9411.18 to present value, 8 to N, and then you press compute, and then press I / Y. So that return 0.06. Okay. Okay, are we clear with this? 1, 2, 3. Okay, very good. Yeah, very good. Okay, so now let's move on. So those are the questions that with very minimum information, right? So please compute the following. And then you have knowns and unknowns, right? But sometimes the narratives of the question can be longer, right? So for example, this is the question. On February 2nd, 2005, an investor held some province of British Columbia stripped coupons in a self-administered RRSP at Scotia McLeod, an investing dealer. Each coupon represents the promise to pay $100 at the maturity date on February 2nd, 2011. Okay, so if I can quickly draw a timeline, okay, so here is February 2nd, 2005. And here is February 2nd, 2011. Okay. So right away, you want to think about how many years apart, right? How many years apart? And this is the place that sometimes students got a little bit confused, right? They probably have more, or they probably calculated one or less a year. So in this case, from 2005 to 2011, how many years between them? Does anyone know how many years between them? So if you don't know, just count with your hand, right? So 2005, 6, right? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So that's the 6 years. Okay, between February 2nd, 2005 and 2011, there are 6 years, right? So in the previous question, they just give you this information, right? But you have to be able to infer this information by reading the narratives of the question, right? Okay. Sometimes students got 7, got 5, right? Just be careful here. Okay. So they're saying the value of the coupon showed as 89.26. So when they are buying this coupon, right? So the value is showing this number, okay? So the present value is 89.26. Okay. Each coupon represents a promise to pay $11 at the maturity date on February 2011. So you purchase this coupon, okay, on February 2nd, 2005. And then you keep it for 6 years until February 2nd, 2011. At that time, that coupon is going to promise you a $100, right? So this is the future value, 100, right? Okay. So now you know present value and the future value. You know the number of the years. Okay. So what is the question? The question is, based on this price, what rate was the yield on the province of British Columbia bond? So they ask you to calculate that rate, right? So they want you to calculate what is the interest rate. You can say R or I, right? So if you remember, the formula is R equals future value divided by present value to the power of 1 over n and then minus 1. So in this case, what is my future value? My future value is 100. My present value is 89.26. And to the power of 1 minus 1 over 6 minus 1. Okay, that's how you calculate this. Does this make sense, guys? 1, 2, 3. Okay, very good. It's kind of funny to think of, what if I'm teaching this in the classroom, right? Let's say the section is in-person section, right? It would be really funny if I ask you, make this request, right? If you understand this, give me a thumb up, right? So, okay, so this is good. You understand this part. I'm gonna erase this. Okay, so when I do the calculation, I get 1.91%. Okay, that's the return of this investment. Okay, and some students may wonder, okay, so why do we need to calculate this interest rate, right? Why do we calculate the return? Well, as an investor, oftentimes that you have to make a decision, right? You have alternative investment opportunities, right? And the question is, which one you want to go with? Because your money is limited, right? We only have so many amount of dollars to invest, right? So then the big decision is where I'm going to spend the money, right? So the way to make a decision, you could calculate the rate of return, right? Based on the information you have, you can roughly calculate a rate of return. And so basically, normally you would consider the higher return, the better, but not necessarily, right? Sometimes when something promises you a good return, you know, the risk is very high, right? Because you know that in finance, right? High return, right? High risk. Or you can say high risk, high return, right? If you think about high return, you buy $5 lottery ticket, right? The potential return could be like $60 million, right? So is that a high return? Of course, right? You spend $5, you may get $60 million, right? That's a high return. But what about risk, right? Well, the risk is very high because the chances that you lose that money is almost close to 100%, right? Because the chances of winning is very, very low, right? To the extent that you probably can ignore that probability. So high return, high risk, right? So yeah, so you have to know your own risk profile. do you love risk or you don't like risk, right? What will be the risk level you are comfortable? So anyways, with enough information, you are able to calculate the rate of return, right? The rate of return. So are we clear with this question? 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. And then again, you can use financial calculators, okay? So you can go future value -100 and the present value 89.26, n equals 6. Then you compute I/y, you get 1.9116, right? So this is a percentage, right? So that's a percentage. Now let's take a look at the second question here. So the second question is this, okay? So on February 2nd, 2006, that's 1 year later, right? At that time, the price has gone up. So at that time, the price is $96. If an investor had purchased it for $89.26 a year earlier, sold it on this day, what annual rate of return would she have earned? Okay, so basically this rate of return, is about your profit, right? How much money you made, divided by your investment, right? Divided by your investment. Okay, so can anyone tell me what is your investment? How much did you invest into this opportunity? And what is the profit, right? So you know that, then we solve this problem. Can anyone tell me? What is the amount of investment for the denominator? I know you know the answer. If you don't answer me, I'm not gonna move on, okay? Let's just be in the same room and keep silence. Okay, thank you, Oriana. Okay, everyone just want to chat without making a sound. That's fine. So 89.26. So that's good. So this is how much they invest, right? They use this money to purchase the share, to purchase the option. Okay, so what is the profit? Anyone tell me 1 year later, they sold it. How much profit they earned? $6.74. How did you get it? Godfrey, how did you get it? Okay, very good. So you sell it for $96, and that cost you 89.26, and that difference is your profit. Okay, so okay, so now we can figure this out. So you do the calculation and you know the result. Okay, so let's see. So what we got here is 7.55%. Okay, 7.55%. So are we okay with this? I think you learned something similar in the personal finance like this. So 1, 2, 3, are we good? Okay, Yeah, so now let's move on to the last question here. So this one, they are asking that if an investor had purchased a security at the market price of $98 on February 2nd, 2006, and held it until it's matured. So the maturity date is the maturity date we have known. So this is the maturity date, February 2nd, 2011. Okay. What annual rate of return would she have earned? So I'll give you 2 minutes to work on this question. So suppose an investor purchased this security at the market price of $98 on February 2nd, 2006. They keep it until maturity, February 2nd, 2011. What annual rate of return would she have earned? So I give you 2 minutes to work on this, and then you tell me the result, okay? Then you tell me the result. If you have the result, please raise your hand, okay? If you have already calculated the result, please let me know, okay? Just give me a sum up so I can see. Okay, Oriana, you have your result there. Thank you. Anyone else have figured this out? So 1 more minute. Okay, thank you, Keaton. So I have 2 students finished. Catherine, thank you. Okay, so why don't you 3 send me a private message? Just send me a private message, tell me your result, okay? Just send it to me, direct message. So the other students can still work on it. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I received. Do you need more time? And yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, Godfrey. Okay, so I'm going to do it, see if you are on the right track, okay? See if you're on the right track. So in this case, you draw a timeline. So it's really important to draw a timeline, okay? So here we are saying this is February 2nd, 2006, okay? Here, February 2nd, 2011. So the first question I want to ask you, how many years between? How many years between these two time points? 5, very good. Thank you. Thank you, you're all correct, that's 5. And what is my present value, which is the cash flow here, right? 26. So that would be the amount of money you spent purchasing the coupon, right? And we know that that price you paid is 98. Okay. And we know the future value, okay, this is the present value. The future value is when it's matured, right? They promise you $100, right? So that's the future value, 100. See, then they ask you what is the interest rate, right? The annual rate of return. So we're gonna do R equals future value divided by present value to the power of 1 over n minus 1. And my future value is 100 divided by present value 98 to the power of 1 over 5 and minus 1, right? So let's take a look. What is the result? Okay, so what is my result here? So my result here is in decimals, so it's the 0.0040 this, and so when you write it in percentage, it's 0.405%. Okay, so very good. I think most of you got this correct. Okay, or you can use a financial calculator. Okay, so negative 100 to future value, 98 to present value, 5 to n, and then press compute, and then you press RI/Y, you get this number. Okay. Okay, are we happy with these questions, the solutions? Do you understand how to use these formulas? Thank you. Yeah, very good. Good, awesome. So, so important that you know there are time value of money. There are different factors, variables, right? In a question, they are going to tell you directly or indirectly enough knowns, and they will ask you to solve the unknown. Okay. An easy question would be they will tell you directly, right? What is n? What's the present value? What's the future value, right? A not so straightforward question would tell you a story, right? And you have to be able to analyze the story, the narratives, to infer what is my n, what is the number of the time intervals, right, between the two time point, and what is the present value, which is the future value, right? What I'm trying to calculate. Am I calculating a future value, a present value, an interest rate, or maybe even n, right? So that's the thing that you have to read the question carefully, the narratives carefully, and then make inferences, right? So for example, in this case, you had to figure out what is n equals 5, right? Okay, so do you guys have any questions? I'm not sure if you have some troubles today. I'm able to receive emails from my school's email, but I cannot log on to the Blackboard. I tried from the morning until the evening. I was trying to log into our course, the Blackboard, but I don't have any success. So if any of you send me emails today to the course mail, unfortunately I'm not able to have access to it. Okay, so now is the opportunity for you to ask me questions. Okay, so do you have any questions about chapter 5? So I guess this week is not too bad because you have done similar things before. So hopefully this is a very relaxing week for you guys. Okay. So any questions? No? Okay. So if you don't have any questions, the class is dismissed. Okay. So this is what I'm offering for this live section. If you have any questions, please stay and we can have a chat. Okay. Have a good evening, everyone.